back to Feedback Loop. I'm Joey.
And I'm Jeremy.
I feel like I talked super slow. Like, I feel like
it was like a calm, like it was kind of like culty, you know.
Well, I think whenever I talk sometimes, and this is both on podcast and in real life, I get very distracted by things that are happening around me. So, like, my brain already knows what I'm kind of going to say, but then somewhere it gets kind of mixed up.
Because you already think you know what you're gonna say. You let your mouth and your body go on autopilot, and then your mind starts to drift, and then you forget what you're doing.
Yeah, I think I was looking at like my wave, little like sound audio thing in the recording software.
Are we in the podcast now?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we are. Like,
what
what am I doing? Okay, so this week we were talking about, well, now we're talking about it. This week we were listening to the album Horse Jumper of Love by the band Horse Jumper of Love. So
what does that mean, Joey? Do you have any context for what that means?
Okay, so I mean, like, I think he might like horses, and he's just like a guy that's in love, so he's a horse jumper, but he, like, a superhero, like, he's the champion of something, but he's the horse jumper of love. So, like, he fights for love, except he also jumps horses for love.
That's a take.
I mean, that's like the actual best thing I can come up with. So
yeah, I have nothing better, so I don't know why I'm giving you shit for it. But...
So the album artwork for this album, it's pretty bare. There's a little drawing of like an alien-headed man, just like the upper part of a torso looking sideways. It's
like a bust.
Yeah, but it's just like, I don't know. It looks very unprofessional, but it looks almost unprofessional in the way that you'd like expect somebody who does that style to do it. Like, I don't know.
You think it's professionally unprofessional?
I think it is kind of like how a lot of those like big tech companies have that weird fucking.
Don't even get me started on that.
Okay, I won't then. But people out there, you know what I'm talking about. All you people know what I'm talking about. But then there's also like a whole paragraph written above this man's head. There was a tiny cactus on my desk. I was angry, and I smashed it down. The poor fucking cactus didn't do anything. I kept the needles in my fist all afternoon. I left the pieces of the pot and the dirt on the floor for weeks until my mom finally picked it up. And it's dated January 21st.
Man, hearing you read that makes me want to hear you narrate an audiobook. Like,
hey!
I would listen to an audiobook that you read for.
It's because I read books to a child all the time, so I have to figure out how to do it.
You're good at reading out loud now.
But yeah, it's just a little, it's like a snippet. It's an anecdote of a day where maybe you, in the heat of the moment, destroy another living thing. That maybe it's just a cactus, but it's still a living thing. And
poor fucking cactus.
And then one day you think back on it and you're like, shit, man. Like, what kind of monster am I? I didn't even clean it up. My mom picked it up.
Yeah, I don't know. That kind of like made me think that like he immediately realized what he had done.
Yeah.
But he still like he dwelled on it for a long period of time because, like you said, he left it in shambles on his floor for weeks.
Yeah,
that's a long period of time to not clean up your own fucking mess. And like, I don't know, there's just something like, I guess it's similar to like leaving pause in music or in reading, where it's intentional.
Yeah.
To an extent, where he's like, I don't want to say he's like punishing himself for doing so, but he's reflecting on it. He's giving himself time to like reflect on it before moving on to the next thing. I guess maybe I'm just reading too much into this.
I don't think you are.
It feels like a good pause at like a story pacing kind of point.
Yeah, I think so too, because it seems like the way this, we're just okay. So
I mean, we can keep. We have no agenda here, Joey.
That's very true. I kind of just got the feeling midway through that, like, if somebody were to just like, click, Feedback Loop podcast, click. Let me just click it right here. I'm clicking it and I'm listening to it, and then they just immediately get barraged by, I'm looking at the fucking wave formats of my audio files. I'm distracted, and the cover of this album talks about.
I think it's good. We never talk about album art, so the fact that we're talking about this, means that there's something to talk about there, right?
Yeah, I just, with the way that he writes lyrics and with how a lot of these songs go, I feel like you're right. It's a very like intentional, like, I don't know,
right, like suspense in a way.
Yeah, but what do I know? I'm just an ugly brunette. Like, I don't.
Heyo, you got it. First track, "Ugly Brunette." Man,
What did you think?
what a fucking vibe this album is.
Oh shit! Okay,
It
good
is it
vibe.
is it is such a vibe.
Vibe check 3 times.
Vibe. But yeah, it's like I don't know. It similar to how you describe being transported to other places, usually in a nostalgic kind of context.
Mm-hmm.
This did that for me, but not like in a nostalgic way. It's just like the sound that they've achieved on this album. It just makes me feel like the sun is setting, and I'm like looking at the silhouette of like a city skyline with like the orange light from the
Yeah,
sun setting on it. And it's just like it's very calm and very like it's slow. It kind of like I don't know, just the combination of the tone of the guitars, the drums being simple and crisp, everything. It kind of makes me dissociate a bit to where I'm just like I feel like I'm somewhere else, or I feel like I am someone else, or just like being in a different state of mind and feeling. I really fucking love it.
well, that's awesome because I honestly had listened to this album maybe. I hadn't listened to it near as much as I've listened to a lot of the other albums I recommend. Like, I'd
Right.
only maybe listened to it like 7 or 8 times. And I felt the same way. And then listening to it, there were just parts of it that I was like, oh, I wonder if Jeremy's gonna like it. I feel like I felt like you would like the general vibe of the album, but then there were
Mhm.
things like the guy's voice and like the, I don't know, just some of the sounds in there. I was like, oh, maybe he won't like it or whatever, but that's good to
Yeah,
hear.
I will comment on those in due time.
Oh, okay,
But like I don't know, for the first track, the entire first track, it just zoned me out so completely
okay.
that I didn't even have very many like specific thoughts about what was happening. It was just like such a like I don't know, it's I don't want to be that guy, but I am going to be that guy. It's such a mood.
Yeah,
Like the album is such a mood, and it takes me places, and it's just like I think it's as simple as that and as complex as that. It's just like
yeah.
it's kind of hard to describe to put the feelings into words in an adequate way.
I feel that. Like, the looking at how these guys are like defined genre wise, one of the words that came up was slowcore,
Yeah,
and
I saw
like
that as well.
I don't know what that is. All I know is that, so on our like top 5 of 2020
Hmm.
thing, I mentioned a band Pile, and I talked about how they reminded me of a bunch of like slower rock bands from like the
Right.
90s. These guys kind of remind me of that in that way, but like to an extreme, because they do just go so slow sometimes, where it's just like,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's like,
It
and
definitely has that '90s rock vibe,
yeah,
but it's I don't know. I think slowcore is probably pretty accurate. I mean,
yeah,
slow is a defining characteristic of this album, at
definitely,
least, and as far as it being like hardcore, it definitely has its moments there as well. I think.
yeah, yeah, it's cool. It's just a cool sound that I like. I mean, like the guitar, it's it's crunchy, but it also sounds like it's just like washing over you at times,
Yeah,
where it's just like you're taking a bath in it, and it's just like falling out of your headphones, just like flowing out like some sort of a river into your
it's
ears.
straight into your brain.
Yeah. And as far as the lyrics and this guy's voice, he's got a very mumbly, like low, quiet voice.
Mhm.
Like, it's not mumbly like all the time, but it is definitely really hard to understand him whenever he kind of gets into like his little feel type thing.
Yeah.
And I like it. It definitely seems like it's the style now. Like, there's a lot of bands out there that I feel like kind of do that. They have the more kind of dejected sound of the lead singer, but I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah, I think it fits the music because it's like it's almost apathetic, I guess.
Hmm.
It's kind of like it's a little bit sad boy, but also more just like not giving a shit or just kind of like feeling kind of gray. I
Yeah.
guess not necessarily feeling intensely one way or the other, but having an intense feeling of not feeling anything. I guess it's kind of empty, which I
Yeah.
think suits the music well. Like I don't know. I remember there was one time like after celebrating the 4th of July that I found myself just kind of reflecting on what I had done on the 4th of July, and it was nothing. I do nothing on the 4th of July, but that's just how I feel sometimes on July 5th.
Yeah, and the other way that I feel on July 5th is like I want to listen to track number 2 off of this album, July
July
5th.
5th. That was not a true anecdote. I mean, I guess it could be a true anecdote,
Yeah,
but it was a truer segue.
yeah, it was a very true segue, and I'm sure somebody out there can relate to that feeling
Oh, for
whenever
sure.
they're like, if July 4th is their big holiday, or they're like, oh man, I really love it, it's my favorite, and then just they have that withdrawal like afterwards, where you're like, oh shit, I gotta go another
I'm
year.
gonna continue lighting fireworks at midnight, even though everyone else is trying to sleep because I have to work tomorrow.
And whenever I run out of fireworks, I'm just gonna shoot guns directly into the air.
It totally happens where we live, by the way, and it's
Yeah,
pretty obnoxious sometimes.
sometimes.
I mean, sometimes if you don't have to work the following day,
Yeah,
it's
that's
whatever.
true.
But
Yeah,
for a week after, it gets old.
yeah.
But July 5th is track
Yeah.
number 2. I wrote my first note on this is such wave, mini vibe. Wow.
Yeah, it's very wavy, very washy, very like slow and big.
Yeah.
It's just nuts.
And
Like,
it's got this like delay layered on top of the reverb, and it takes this song, it's like it's taking it out to like the beach at the edge of space is the way I worded it, where it's just like it's right at the edge of this big vast empty void, but it's still like it's still just barely here, where you're not fully out there yet, but it gives it this kind of spacey feeling, but it's also still got kind of that surfy, I guess, washy vibe that we've talked about a little bit.
well, shit, man. I the two adjectives I really used for this song were spacey and watery. So I mean,
Yeah.
you know, it
Which I
must be
mean,
something.
it's yeah. I mean, I guess there have been many a comparison to space and the sea being very similar in many aspects. Mostly like freedom of movement and like I don't know, it's just the vastness of it. It's
Yeah,
very very big and very very open and very very empty.
this song's super short. So like, as far as that spacey wateriness, it kind of just goes for like a minute. But there are a few little lyrics in there,
Yeah, it's a
and
spoken word dealio.
yeah, it's just detailing July 5th. He's at the beach, just talk. It's a dirty beach, like it's. I'll just read them because you know what?
Sure,
Fuck it.
go for
There's
it. We got
whatever.
time.
So, July 5th at the beach. Soft smell of trash. Inner seagull carcass lining. Smoking next to the kids. Sitting on my America towel. I love you very much forever.
Oh,
And it just paints a picture of you're sitting. These guys are from like Boston, so I mean, I don't know if this is just me being biased because I've never actually been to the East Coast, but I've always heard that East Coast beaches are like pretty dirty, like in city type areas,
yeah.
like you're just sitting on a dirty beach, like a dead seagull, some lady smoking a cigarette next to her kids. You're sitting on an America towel because that's just where you're at in your life, and
That's where we
but
all should be.
yeah, it's but you're there with somebody that you love very much forever, so you're like, I don't care, there's dirty sand and band-aids.
Yeah, we'll have a picnic on the beach and eat some bagels.
Yeah, but watch out, man, you better bring like some I almost said a brand name, but you better bring some generic
Some
mint
generic
gum.
non-branded mint gum or
Yeah.
toothpaste.
Yeah, because you want to watch out for that bagel breath that you're gonna get.
Yeah, and I'll watch out for it as we discuss the next track. So I don't want. I know it's kind of weird to say that because we're not recording in person, but I don't want my breath to like seep through the microphone and out, and I don't want you to smell my bagel breath if we do.
And depending on how close you are to your mic, and if you have one of those like fuzzy things around your mic,
I do.
maybe the bagel smell gets stuck in there.
It's true. It's true. I'll
It's
need to be
just-
conscious of that as
Yeah.
well. But track number 3 is bagel breath.
Boom.
We did it. We're killing these segues tonight. Now that I've
Yeah.
called attention to it, we're gonna flounder like we always do.
Nah, man, we're gonna make them even better. That's what's gonna happen. But
Well,
no, it's fine.
No.
Okay, you know what? I'll go. I always say no, and then you go. I'm gonna
true.
go.
Role
right now.
reversal.
Yeah, boom. This one, and you may disagree with this, but probably not. It's got
I
like
disagree.
a. Who are you, Poppy?
Yes, exactly. Hey, if you guys wanna check out one of our early podcasts, A, I'm sorry, but B, we discussed poppies. I disagree. Is
Yeah,
what the reference Joey was making. It's one of our first podcasts. It has some obnoxious background noise,
like a
but
dog.
it's
There's a
fun.
dog. Yeah, there's a dog back there. She's going.
And lots of thumping on the tables.
I
And
think that was the episode that at one point I got up and just let her out.
yeah,
I was
maybe.
just like in the middle of it, and you were like, "Excuse me, sorry if
Yeah,
you
I
hear."
called attention to it.
You're like, Joey's just got up, left the fucking table. Like this isn't a podcast that he's committed time to doing with me, and it's just gone now.
It's fine. It's fine. Sorry, I'm gonna stop interrupting. What am I maybe
No.
gonna disagree with you on?
So this one, I feel like this has like the first kind of discernible melody in
Yes.
like everything else is kind of just washy chords, and this starts out with like it. There is just a bunch of washy chords too, but it's got like an actual melody to it, kind of a more normal song structure, I guess, is what I would consider it.
Yeah, see, I came to that conclusion on the next track more
Hmm.
so than this one. But
Yeah,
maybe it's just this whole album is kind of like an ebbing and flowing kind of a dealio, to where it kind of each track kind of takes steps in a direction, I guess, and each following track continues in that direction for the most part, where it's not unheard of, or it makes perfect sense to me that this is the point where you said, hey, there's more melody here.
yeah.
I hit that point in the next track because they're in the same direction.
Yeah, I feel
They're
like the
still
next
walking.
track, I could like it's got even more of it. This one, it
Right.
still has like even though there is a melody, it's still like it sounds like they recorded like three different guitars playing
Hmm.
this melody, all slightly differently tuned from each other. Like
Yeah.
maybe off of like a quarter step or something, because there's some like it sounds kind of off kilter, and it's I don't know, it kind of just goes throughout it, and then like halfway through it backs out and it's just the guy singing for a second while the
Yeah.
guitar kind of just like wangs a little bit, but he gets like this really kind of, I don't know, it's not nasally, but it's like it's even more apathetic, but it's not mumbly like type of voice
Yeah,
going on.
this is the point where I noted his voice, and this is the first time on the album that I really like paid attention to it, and it's bad. He doesn't sing well,
Yeah,
but I think it suits the music perfectly, and I'm kind of glad that the acapella kind of style is used very sparingly on the
yeah,
album, and it's not like a constant thing. But it was a nice kind of shift, I guess, to pull focus elsewhere in the track.
yeah. And it was weird because like the way that the song kind of goes, like between the drums and the guitar, it feels like they're constantly playing catch up. And then
Yeah.
whenever it cuts out, it feels like they kind of resync because
Hmm.
whenever it comes back, it's bigger and fuller and kind of everything sounds more cohesive, even though they're kind of keeping the same melody and everything.
Right. And I think they do that a lot. Well, I don't know about a lot. They do that a few times, I'll say, during this album. I felt where it's just kind of like things are kind of falling apart a little bit, and then something happens to either resync them or the opposite, where things are kind of like catching up to each other, and then it just
Hmm.
kind of falls apart again, kind of a thing.
Yeah, which that's something that I like. I don't know, like I don't know what draws me to that sound, but
Hmm.
it's just I guess it's having heard so much like very produced music, it's just nice to hear.
It's refreshing.
Yeah, because I feel like this style, it's getting bigger. Like it's not necessarily today's pop music, but
Oh, absolutely.
it's getting it's getting bigger to where it's more popular. Like stuff like this, where they're kind of not afraid to just be like, whatever. The drums
Yeah,
are kind of offbeat. Yeah, cool.
it
Just
gives a
keep it in there.
character.
Yeah, like whatever. Keep it in there. It
I
sounds
mean,
fine.
fucking not to do this again, but we talked about Jimmy Page last week. Jimmy Page is known for having kind of a sloppy guitar playing style, right? Like he's on a lot of his solos and stuff. He's offbeat. He's not like necessarily keeping the rhythm that you would expect it. And I think that's one aspect of to what made them such a great band and so successful, is that like it kind of drove home the feeling that music is felt more than calculated, I
Yeah,
guess. At least to me, that's the way I interpret it.
same here. Like I feel like as much as I hate this kind of stereotype where like it's and I say stereotype like it's an actual thing, but like in the metal and rock community, there's always like the it's just technical, like they're just playing a flurry of notes, like sure they're technically impressive, but it's
Right.
like whatever. And I mean this happens in other types of music, but just me being from that
Yeah.
area whenever I was younger, that's what I knew it. But like you'd hear bands like Dream Theater and people are like, yeah, sure, they're all really good, but it's like there's no feeling or whatever. And then they talk about like classic rock like Led Zeppelin or like the Rolling Stones or something, or
Hmm.
just even like some thrash metal. Like I don't know, I used to know people who are like big into Metallica and like Megadeth, which Megadeth is bordering on it, I think. But like Metallica, like more blues influenced stuff where they're like,
Right.
you can really feel it, and what it like. It's just I feel like it's that, and it's more of the feeling coming through, which is better
Yeah,
in
it's more
my opinion.
human, right?
Yeah,
Everyone makes mistakes. People want to think that the music is being made and played by human beings and not being programmed or not being, robotically engineered to fit a certain grid, kind of a thing.
man, I really want one day for robots to be able to make that, and then have somebody who's like that and be like, it just sounds like fucking beeps and boops, man, ones and zeros and
Ones and zeros. Use microchips.
Metalocalypse, everybody.
Metalocalypse. Go watch it if you still haven't for whatever reason.
Uh,
Lyrically, though,
yeah,
back on
that's yeah.
track.
Boom.
Bagel Breath, I feel like there was a deeper meaning here that I couldn't quite nail down.
Hmm.
Where I got that he's clearly talking about being in a relationship of sorts. He sleeps with this person, shares his toothbrush, whatever. The thing that I can't figure out is what he means when he says, I like it stuck to my skin, dried and vacuumed. And then I said, maybe Bagel Breath is a subtle reference to either drugs or sex, with his partner trying to scrub a taste out of their mouth that is either semen or some oral drug, maybe acid. I was just kind of
See,
spitballing.
I I had an epiphany later in this album, like, and it was brought on by like doing my research to try to
Yep.
figure out stuff.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Okay, but I think you might be right with the drug reference. I saw this as like the continuation originally because I was trying to go in. I hadn't listened to this album a ton. I was
Mm-hmm.
just going into it semi fresh, but I went into it just thinking as a continuation of the last song where like 724 I open the doors, like what it starts off with, like you're walking up to a hotel room and it's like you just go in and you're just hanging out playing house in this thing, kind of just like hanging out around whatever, like you said, it's you're dating someone or you're just in a summer love or
Yeah,
whatever.
fling.
Yeah. And I don't know, that's how I saw it, but I don't know. There might be some other stuff going
So
on.
I mean, we might as well talk about it. Like I said, there's drug use referenced later in the album. How do you think that impacts this song?
It makes me wonder if there's even a like another person involved, or if it's just him. Like,
Hmm.
which I think is going too far, judging by how I initially felt from this album. But it's just like once something like that gets in my head, it makes
Yeah,
me question. Like, I don't know, like 724, I open the door. Like, sure, you can be walking into a hotel room with somebody else, but you can also be renting a hotel room to just go and like get really fucked up in. And
yeah.
I don't know. I
Or
don't,
furthermore, meeting a dealer or something, someone that
yeah,
has the drugs. So you're just gonna go hang out with them, and they're in some random motel
yeah.
because of
Spitting
booze.
crumbs into your backpack. I don't know what the fuck that means, but
Yeah, that's the thing. So he says spitting crumbs in your backpack. You dump them out the old Sour Patch, and then at the end he says nothing gets past the old Sour Patch after talking about how the person borrowed his toothbrush and scraped their tongue. So that's kind of what like they gave me the implication that they're trying to get scrub some taste out of their mouth,
yeah.
but I wasn't sure what that taste was. So
I don't know, man. But maybe we'll ask some like psychonaut, some spaceman of the mind who's been doing drugs their whole life. Maybe they'll get that reference. I don't, but
do you know any spacemen?
I don't know any spacemen, but I do know that track number 4 is called Spaceman.
Spaceman,
Spaceman.
spaceman. This
I like
one,
I like Spaceman more.
I like this track more than the prior ones. This might be my favorite track on the album. I'm not sure. I didn't really nail it down. But yeah, this one has kind of, it's less of the washy wavy chords that have been on all the other tracks and more of like a guitar melody focus on this one.
Yeah.
It's still mostly like a simple arrangement kind of deal, but there's something about the vocal melody in this. I think that's what it is that I really like. There's just the vocals in this song stood out to me more. I also feel like this is kind of like a, not really an anti, but like maybe an opposite of the presidents of the United States of America feel,
Oh shit.
where just like, I don't know, some of the music and the melodies feel like it was very similar, but in a much sadder slash slower kind of tone, which is very much not what the presidents of the United States of America sound like. They're mostly like upbeat and energetic and stuff, and this kind of felt like very very similar, equal but opposite maybe of them.
I can see that. I mean, I haven't listened to a ton of presidents of the United States of America, but
We should get on that then.
yeah, we should, because every song, literally every song I've ever heard by them is an absolute banger. Like,
I'd like to do an album
well, there we
for the
go.
show, so I'll put it on the list.
Hell yeah. This song is probably also my favorite. So
Fuck yeah.
I like kind of the intro that it's like acoustic,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, it's a huge difference from like before where it's like it feels like there's just like an orb of sound closing in on your head, and
Yeah.
this one is more normal with elements of that brought in.
Yeah.
I like the way he sings on it. I like just the general way that it feels like the guitar part or whatever. It's the way that he plays it. It's really like I find myself just bobbing my head to it without
Mm-hmm.
meaning to. Like I'm just sitting there and I'm just like, yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of like almost pop in that
yeah,
way, and that it like there's something about the structure of it and the melody of it that's just kind of like, it's simple, it's catchy. You kind of, like you said, you kind of just find yourself bobbing to it.
it's nice. It's just a little nice thing, but I feel like where this song shines for me is
Yes.
like,
Yes.
yes,
Yes. Say it.
What were you gonna say? Were you thinking that I was gonna say the drums? Is that what you were
Oh
gonna say? No, I
no,
wasn't. I wasn't gonna say the drums. I was gonna
the
say the lyrics.
outro.
Oh, the
Uh,
outro.
so before we get to the lyrics, the outro stood out to me on this one a lot. It's got this kind of very distant reverby guitar. It's almost a solo, I
Mm-hmm.
guess, but it's so like layered underneath everything, and it's so distant. To me, it kind of like evoked the feeling of hearing church bells in
Ooh,
like across town or somewhere, because it was just like so distant and so echoey that it was just like, it was very rhythmic and very like, I don't think it was one note necessarily, but just the way it was like layered and everything, it just like evoked the feeling of like hearing a church bell going from across town, just
yeah.
constantly like ringing like 12 times in a row or whatever.
I do like that, and I like the outro of this because it felt like you said, the guitar is layered under everything, and it's
Yeah.
not like a crazy guitar part or anything, but it's just like a nice different guitar part. It feels like the anti solo where
Yeah.
it's like he's not playing anything crazy and it's under a lot of other stuff. So,
Right.
but it's super cool. I like that far away sound they have because I actually note it because I hear it more in another song.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Okay.
it's cool.
Before you, because you said that you really like the lyrics on this track,
I
right?
do.
Before you get there, I'm going to tell you my interpretation
Do it.
because I think yours is going to be much more sound. So I wrote that this one seems to be about making out, and then I put, "Is Spaceman his penis being rocket shaped? Who knows?" That's all I wrote for the lyrics of this track.
Okay. So I like yours more than mine now. But I just like the lyrics, not necessarily because they're super deep or anything, but they just paint such a vivid picture. So, like, I
Yes.
built up in this, like, July 5th, you're on a dirty beach. Like, it's just, you're in your head, it's kind of grimy. You can see that you're with someone and you're just like, okay, we're hanging out, we're having a good time.
Yeah,
Like,
you're sitting on your America towel.
yeah, just like hanging out, doing your thing. And the world around you doesn't really matter, even though it's shit. The next one, you go into her hotel room or somebody's hotel room, and you're just
Hmm.
like hanging out, doing your thing, whatever. Like you're waking up next to each other, you're doing whatever you're going to be doing. And I see, and the reason I phrase it that way is because this song, it paints a picture of, like, it starts off portrait blurry television, and just the way this song feels whenever he says that, it takes me to like a dark room, like afternoon dark, though you have the curtains pulled and like the sun is kind of setting, so
Yeah.
it's like there's still a little bit of light but not too much, and the TV is just like that blue static, and you're just like sitting there on your towel, because he says once again sitting on my American towel, you're sitting there on the towel on the bed, which is just such like, I don't know why this is so like visceral to me, but it reminds me of just like, I can feel it. I can feel the slightly damp towel underneath me
Yeah.
whenever he says that. Like it's happened before in my life. Like this exact situation has happened before. And the next line, "You got bored and put on my clothes," it makes me think they're like, I don't know, like they're enjoying each other's company almost more than, I'm guessing before this, I don't know, they had sex, I'm sure. Like,
Right.
but the way he says this, it makes me feel like that was not the highlight of what is going on here. Like,
Yeah, like this is a more intimate kind of description.
yeah, like he's talking more fondly of afterwards than during. And the chorus is just, "I talk with your teeth, kiss you through my shirt, spaceman feels good." And that's like, you're just,
Spaceman's his penis.
spaceman is his penis. But you're feeling good. You're just feeling comfortable, secure with another person. But later, whenever I find out that this, like, there's this drug reference, or more specifically, possibly heroin,
Yeah.
it blew my mind, because this song flipped entirely. Like, the portrait blurry television, "I got bored and turned off your glow," like he's just done with hearing this white noise, turns off the TV. He's sitting on the same towel that he was on that dirty beach on, and he just puts his clothes back on for, I don't know, maybe like it was some sort of deal where he's like, I don't have the money. Okay, let's fuck. Like, why not?
Yeah.
And then we'll exchange goods here. And
But he's saying that the other person is putting on his clothes.
yeah, and that's what kind of keeps me from thinking it's fully about that. But like, it was just like, I feel
Yeah.
like I can hear it both ways now.
I kind of also wondered. Sorry, I don't want
Oh
to
no,
interrupt you. If you
you're
go ahead
good.
and finish your thought, I'll come back to mine.
So I talk with your teeth, kiss you through my shirt. Like, it made me think he's specifically talking to the drug. Like, I talk with your teeth. I know he's saying your teeth, but it
Hmm.
makes me think of like, if somebody's like tying off their arm, they're like pulling something with their teeth to make sure it's tight.
Sure.
And it was like talking with your teeth, that it just made me think of that, "kiss you through my shirt." This one made a little bit less sense, but it was just like, I don't know, like maybe he's like, for whatever reason, I don't know why you would do this, but like putting the needle like through his shirt or something, or
Right.
his skin is touching his shirt that he pulls back over where he just put it in, and spaceman feels good. Obviously, he's high at that point.
He's feeling good.
He's feeling good.
So yeah, I was just gonna say, I feel like maybe the "you got bored and put on my clothes" is kind of like a role reversal, like putting yourself in somebody else's shoes.
Hmm.
So maybe he's saying that they're like, maybe it's the two people kind of sitting there and analyzing each other afterward or something. And when he says "kiss you through my shirt," it could either mean A, that they're like like he's literally just kissing them like on the body through his own shirt or whatever, or to go more with the point that I was about to make, like the thought of his shirt being on someone else is kind of him kissing them, just like
Yeah,
as kind of a greater like analogy kind of a thing, where he's. I mean, I talk with your teeth. I took that to mean kissing,
yeah,
but like I don't know. I feel like there might be more there, where it's more of like a metaphor of wearing somebody else's clothes and analyzing them, because the second verse is almost identical to the first, except it's reversed the roles, where it
yeah,
says "you got bored and turned off my glow, sitting on our American towels. I got bored and put on your clothes." So I kind of wonder if there's like if maybe he's even dissociating and he has two different personalities that he's working with here, but that seems a large leap in logic. But I just kind of wonder if there's some sort of like trying to understand each other and on a deeper level, perhaps, and kind of analyzing that.
I like this a lot, Jeremy. What is happening right now? I'm liking it.
I don't know. It's live analysis. You heard it here, folk. Here, I can't even fucking speak now.
You heard it here first,
you,
folks.
You heard it here. Why is it so difficult for me to say? You heard it here first, folks.
Oh man,
there's a lot of like alliteration in that, and I don't know.
I think you just made a tongue twister. I made one the other day, and it was like, put the black something back in the bag. It was like, put the black. I can't remember it. I'm going to tell you after this podcast once I do remember it, because I know Alyssa will know it, but it freaked me out, and I was like, why can't I say this? What's happening to me?
Well, you work on that, and we'll talk about that after the podcast. What I want to do after the podcast is paint horses, and just to have a horse. I would want to have a horse after this.
What makes you feel that way specifically?
I mean, this is Horse Jumper of Love. I've just been thinking, it's in the back of my mind that like this guy really loves horses, and I've never really given it much thought. I don't consider myself a horse person, but like maybe I am. Maybe I want to paint horses and have a horse.
Well, maybe after track 5, I'll be a little more in your camp, but until then, we're going to be talking about track 5. I want to paint horses and have a horse.
Killing it.
Dude, you did it.
This one has like a drum machine deal going on that introduces some very like wavy, warpy synths. This one kind of, I'm not 100% sure, so you can feel free to correct me, but it felt kind of what I imagine vaporwave music sounds like. And then those samples came in. I'm like, this has to be vaporwave, and this has to be why Joey likes this album.
It is vaporwave. I would put it as vaporwave inspired. Vaporwave, I feel like, is more. I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna sit here and try to school anybody on vaporwave, because vaporwave it's a movement first and foremost. And I know there's a lot of snobs out there.
Sure,
but vaporwave. This is definitely vaporwave inspired. Yeah, it's vaporwave adjacent. I'd go that far.
But yeah, it's got this drum machine. It would almost be like kind of a swingy beat with the ride cymbal, because I think he's doing some like swingy triplets on it. But it was so precise and so like clearly programmed that it wasn't quite getting the feel of swing, which kind of was this weird dissonance in my mind. But this at this point I was like, this whole album is such a mood. And this track, despite being so viscerally different and being programmed and electronic instead of the acoustic instruments that we've been hearing, it's no exception. It's such a like it takes me places.
Yeah, because like, oh my god, I just had a fucking epiphany.
Lay it on me.
So, and some drug scholars out there are probably gonna like either tell me I'm extremely wrong or yell at me for not having gotten this first.
Okay, wait, hang on. Is drug scholar like a position that you can become?
I don't know.
Is that a thing?
I'm sure you can. Like, I'm sure somebody out there.
An interesting job title. Yeah, I'm a professional drug scholar.
Everything has to have an expert. Like, there's got to be at least one expert on everything.
Yeah, but would they call themselves an expert? Like, would somebody who knows a lot about drugs, like a pharmacist, or something like that, would they consider themselves a drug scholar?
I mean, more in the street sense. Like,
right, yeah, obviously. Yeah. but just would they consider themselves a scholar of drugs?
Probably not.
It's just weird. Sorry, I didn't mean to derail. I was just kind of curious.
So, like, horse is, I am 90.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Continue.
So, like, horse is, like, I am 98% sure that is a pretty common street name for heroin.
Makes sense.
And if he's a horse jumper of love, he wants to paint horses and to have a horse. There's so much horse going on.
We've cracked the code.
Oh my god.
You heard it here first, folks.
But that gives a little bit more credence to what I was about to say, and I was kind of making an assumption with it. So if in Spaceman he's doing some drugs, or he has just done some, and Spaceman is now feeling good, he's adequately good feeling. He this song, like, it feels just so off kilter, like you were talking, like it's a mood. and like there's that stilted swing beat that is too programmed to actually feel like swing. There's like an extremely garbled vocal sample that just sounds like someone going or like some. It's just like in all my research I can figure out what they were saying. Like maybe this is just like at the peak of whatever high this guy is feeling, and he's just like out there, and him wanting to paint horses and to have a horse is just like him really, really high. I don't know.
Really vibing with it.
Yeah.
Side note, I think I want a t-shirt now that says I am adequately good feeling. Or whatever the fuck you said.
There's our merch. We'll have to listen. I don't remember what I said. We'll have to listen to it again.
He's adequately good feeling.
Yeah. That sounds like something I'd say maybe.
But I want that all over my body. But yeah, I also had no idea what these vocal samples were saying, and I didn't put a whole lot of research or thought into it because I was just like, it's a cool sound. I like it.
I can't believe you, Jeremy. If you continue to put this lack of research into your notes, I'm going to have to put you in the dirt.
Wow. I knew you were segueing, but I had no idea where that's going to end. Damn. Track number 6, Dirt.
It's because I'm feeling some leftover anger from what's happening outside of this podcast right now.
Yeah, we're playing a Civ 6 game, and I'm murdering Joey as we speak. Well, not as we speak, literally, but like in the grand scheme of things.
Once we're done speaking here, he will be murdering me again.
So Joey's a little bit bitter about that. But track number 6 is Dirt, and it takes us back to the kind of slow, beachy, depressy guitars.
Yeah,
which maybe I don't know if depressy is most exemplified on this track, but this is the first time I actually used the kind of like sad boy kind of feeling in my notes, at least.
Yeah.
The vocals seem a bit more prominent on this track because there's so much distance between the beats on this one because it's such like a slow, dragging beat. Throughout the song, there's this guitar lick that it's a simple guitar lick enough on its own, but it sounds like it's trying to jumpstart the energy of the song, but it never quite succeeds, and it just keeps trying and trying and trying, and then it does succeed after like the second verse, and this distorted ass bass and the guitars come in and it just punches you in the fucking brain, and there's just like I don't know, it gets the energy. Like that lick. This is a long song. I think this is the longest song on the album, isn't it?
It's the second long. No, actually,
it's not even. This is only 4.5 minutes. Good lord!
It just feels long.
Yeah, it feels so long because it's so slow. But yeah, it's this riff is kind of like it plays and it sounds like it's trying to start up the energy. It finally gets that energy, and then there's kind of like a big punch, and then there's like a one chord kind of guitar solo, if you can call it a solo, that just kind of grinds through the back of the song before the third verse. And then when the third verse comes in, it kind of returns to that chill, kind of somber vibe from the beginning.
Yeah. I won't say this is my favorite song on the album, but I like what happens in this song so much. Like just the slowness of it. It's like, not to keep referencing things that like have nothing to do with what we're talking about, but there's a video of Adam Neely. If anybody's ever watched him, he talks about like what's the slowest song that you could make, or the slowest BPM that you could have, and still like your brain still recognizes it as a beat. And I feel like parts of this song not necessarily go there, but are like towing that line to where you're just like you're waiting for it, and you're just like, what like in the maybe half a second between a beat or whatever in all reality, but your brain is just like, I'm listening to a song, there has to be another beat that's coming.
Yeah. I've not seen that video of Adam Neely. I think I saw it pop up, but I've not watched it. So maybe I'll watch it after this.
Well, you should, because it's cool. It's pretty.
Adam Neely's a cool dude.
Yeah,
he seemed kind of pretentious at first, but the more I watch him, the more I'm like, yeah, he just really likes music and he really likes talking about it.
It's because he's really smart and he's good at music.
It's intimidating how much that guy knows about music, and it makes me kind of feel defensive. Like, fuck me, I don't know a damn thing about music. Apparently,
I know nothing. I will never know anything. But this song, the lyrics are. This is where somebody, like in my research, I had found that somebody said something about dirt being a reference to heroin.
Right.
And there's one line in specific, and this is, I say research like I was fucking chewing through some library somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, we've mentioned it before. We use Genius annotations a lot.
And, but it was like dirt is a reference to heroin, and then juice is slang for methadone, which is like it mimics opiates and like blocks the places in your brain where like those chemicals will go, but
Yeah.
like it's super dangerous because it'll do that, but then you still are just taking a bunch of heroin and not feeling it.
Right.
And so you're still just getting all the bad stuff from it. You're just not getting high. So like it's easy to over. But either way, like it's just it means something in the sense that this song is like if this is actually what the song is talking about, he's just having a really fucking insane time happening right now, and it's really dangerous, and he's not in a good spot.
Yeah, and he continues to talk about another person
Mm-hmm.
existing in this context. So like he says your elbow is sharp and mine is not, which kind of made me think that he's having some weird experiences where some things are much more vivid than other things, even though they should all theoretically be the same amount of vivivity, if
Yeah,
that's a word. But yeah, I don't know. It kind of just the fact that there was someone else there and the way he phrased some of the lines made me think that maybe he's feeling sedated or trapped by drug use, potentially suggested or enforced by his lover or someone else that's kind of maybe forcing him into this kind of drug use habit.
and that's some intense shit. Like,
It's fucked up.
damn, that's I don't know, man. I started this whole album on like a vibe level, and now it's just like it just gets intense at a certain point.
Yeah, this is definitely. I mean, this is like halfway through the album.
Yeah,
It's kind of like the apex of. I guess it's a little over half at this point, but maybe time wise, I don't know.
yeah,
But yeah, it's just he says like there's a woman in her sleep who fills me bottles, feeds me tea, peel an apple with your nails. So I don't know, just the fact that there's another person there, it seemed to be either enabling him or more than enabling him by
yeah,
like pushing him into it.
yeah. That's all I know is if you take heroin and methadone at the same time, you're going to end up a lot worse off than if you just would have fallen like passed out on the beach,
Yeah.
got really sunburned to the point where you're like got sun poisoning. That's
Yeah, but then if you did get sun poisoning, then you could potentially relate to track number 7, which is called sun poisoning.
I feel like that could take an award for like the darkest segue
I
that's
mean, the
happened.
darkest one of Feedback Loop at the very least.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Because other people don't exist. It's just us. Like
That's true. So I
all of my
guess
all of my comparisons are just internal.
yeah, I mean, that's all that matters. We are the only podcast that matters. So if you're listening to other podcasts as well as us, stop it. Just
Yeah,
listen to us. We're all we need. We're all you need.
don't worry. We're not wasting your time. Don't.
We are 100% wasting your time. Sun poisoning. This
Boom.
song drives me fucking insane.
Does it now? Let me ask why.
The hi-hat on this song in particular is just a half a beat off. Or
Yep.
I guess it's probably more realistic, like quarter beat, because it's such a slow
Yeah.
grind. But the hi-hat is it's just a fucking fraction of a beat off, and it drives me a little insane because it never truly fixes itself, and it always sounds off. His voice is a bit more layered on this track than the previous ones, which I thought was kind of interesting. I don't hate the track, but that fucking hi-hat needs to be fixed.
See, I posed a question in my notes that was, I wonder if Jeremy is going to really like what's happening with the drums or really really hate what's happening.
Well,
with
okay,
the
so we'll get there. Clearly, it starts off on a hate relationship, right? Then you get this guitar solo or this bridge kind of section coming in that I really liked. After the bridge, they fix the hi-hat, quote
Mm-hmm.
unquote, by doing a double tap that starts on the beat. So instead of it just being off, it sounds like it's a continuation of the beat instead of just like being off. So I think they fixed it at that point. It's still slightly off, but it didn't bother me nearly as much as in the beginning of the song. And then like halfway through, the song goes into like double time. It picks up a lot of energy,
Yeah.
and it fizzles out and crashes. And then there's another like bridge or guitar section that's just as good as the first one. The bass gets some more like focus on some fills and stuff, and then it picks up steam again for like a last push kind of a thing, which I think they got where they wanted to go, or where the song wanted to go with that final push, and then it kind of gave it some space to breathe before the end.
Yeah, it kind of like you said, they ended up fixing the hi hat. I like it just because I like the feel of it, and not
Mm-hmm.
like I don't know. I feel like it fits if we're keeping the subject matter from the last song.
Right.
It at least fits from like a theming perspective, and they do fix it about halfway through. And then that final push, I just like the final push of this song so much because it builds the momentum, and then it kind of starts to sound like it's gonna go off the rails, but they bring it back in, but then it could go off the rails again. Everything's just gonna go nuts, but they kind of bring it back in, and then the song ends up like it gets tied back together, and then it ends. But it's just like it's got kind of like a really frantic feel where you're like, could that hi-hat go off again? Like, what's that hi-hat gonna do over here?
It's like they duct taped the train back together.
Yeah.
Just waiting for it to fall apart again.
Yeah. It's but the lyrics on this song, I feel like, give some weight to what you were talking about the last song, where it's like he's just like trapped inside with somebody else, and they're just like not having a good time, but also kind of feeling like they're having a good time. Like somebody is like keeping him there or persuading him to be there, and just like do a bunch of drugs and not live a good life. He talks about like be heliophobe is he talks to somebody as them being a heliophobe, which is like they're scared of the sun. And I mean, it's called Sun Poisoned. So
right. Yeah. This one, like, I don't know. So I'm just going to read through my notes here. So I started writing my notes on the lyrics, and I said, I need someone smarter to explain the song to me. The genius annotation blew my mind a bit, but only explains the first part of the song, which, like you mentioned, is where he's asking a heliophobe why they have bleached hair or why they have a tan like prison bars, which the genius annotation likened that to like shining through like a shuttered window. But I think it still might also potentially be just actual prison bars.
Yeah.
But I figured out the sunlight seems to be a metaphor, but I couldn't quite place it. And then pretty much just as I was writing my next note, I was like, I think I figured it out while I'm writing this. I think it's a metaphor for somebody putting up their walls and keeping people at a distance. The person's skin is too sensitive to be touched, meaning like their heart is too fragile to love or whatever. The singer didn't want it to be the ghost in the person because he wanted their love to be tangible and physical. And there was just that kind of like layer of apprehensiveness that comes with being super sensitive or afraid of letting someone in, is the way that I took it, which probably isn't the correct way to analyze this amidst all of this drug fueled lyrics and chaos and stuff. But that's kind of that's where my mind went, is that it's kind of like someone's very sensitive to letting someone close to them. Maybe that says a lot about me.
I mean, it could say it probably does, but I mean, that's just how interpretations are. But I do think you're right. Like you asked for a smart person. You said somebody smarter, and then you were like, "Oh wait, I'm a smart guy.
I'm that guy.
I'm that smart guy." But
I thought it was fun.
It totally works, and I think with the sensitivity, I mean, if we're keeping, I think you could tie it in with the drug. I don't know if you really need to tie it in. Like maybe it's just two separate things, but like if somebody's in that sort of like, I don't know, abusive or just very manipulative relationship that we were potentially describing from the last song.
Yeah.
I mean, surely like they feel that way. Like they're feeling like, I need to put up these walls. Like nobody can get like that person must have some sort of power over them. Like they feel like they let them in, but it's not worked out for them. Or maybe they feel like it has worked out and they're literally the only person that should be near them. And that's why they're in this situation. But I don't know.
It's fucked up. Side note, I really like that there's one line in the song where he says disposable exposed photographs. I thought that was kind of a clever double meaning of exposed, because he's talking about photographs and sunlight. So like light helps you expose photographs, but also like an exposed photograph, meaning that like you're releasing something that's a picture of someone else that's in a vulnerable state, kind of a thing. I thought that was kind of clever.
That is clever. And it sounds cool. Disposable exposed photographs. Like that's just like disposable and exposed sound cool. And then exposed photographs, there's a lot of that O sound and the sound. It's just nice. It feels good.
Very nice. Kudos to you, Dimitri Giannopoulos.
Giannopoulos, I think that sounds maybe right. But I have one thing to say to you, Mr. Dimitri, and it's that I love you very much forever.
Yeah, Dimitri, if you're listening, I know you probably intended this for someone less specific than me and Joey, but we love you very much forever.
Yeah. And
track number 8.
That's track number 8. And if you'll remember back to whenever I so cleverly read off of all the lyrics on July 5th, this is one of them.
The track July 5th, not like it's not the 5th of July yet. We're still in March.
No, we got a long way to go, man.
Or unless it was last year. Maybe last year you snuck it in. You read lyrics from this album, and we didn't even notice.
Dude, wouldn't that be some shit?
That would be.
I mean,
the chances of us recording on July 5th or releasing the episode on July 5th would be very slim, though.
Yeah, because I don't think that was a Monday.
I mean, I guess it wouldn't be very slim. You got a 1 in 7 chance of random, but
yeah. And I mean, I could always just be like, can we postpone recording it? But then I guess it still wouldn't go out on July 5th. So, but I would have said it on. Yeah, anyways. It doesn't matter. What am I doing?
Track number 8. I love you very much forever. It was the last line in July 5th, the track. This one I felt kind of tied in some of the ambient noise from the track that I said was kind of vaporwavy, which was I want to paint horses and have horses. So it kind of ties that in with kind of the droney wavy guitar that you've heard throughout this entire album at this point, except for that track, I guess. I really dislike the mouth noises that you can hear on this track. Because he layers multiple vocal takes and they're slightly off, which I think is cool. I really like that effect where like some of the vocal takes are just slightly off rhythmically and off melodically and stuff, where they're just kind of like just a syllable off at points. But there's so much mouth noise that I was picking up while I was listening to the song with my headphones, and that shit drives me fucking insane. I hate ASMR stuff. And I don't know, it doesn't bother me in person, like if someone's chewing out loud or anything like that. But hearing it in my ears is just like, it makes me so obnoxious. Like it's obnoxious. I hate it. But yeah, otherwise it's kind of a cold, dark toned song. It's got kind of a drunken feeling because some of the lyrics aren't synced up with each other, like we kind of mentioned in another track. And then it builds at the end like it's going to fade into the next track, like it's getting this rising energy that's going to like speed up into the next track, and then that doesn't happen. But I thought it was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I'll talk more about that in the next track where it doesn't happen. But yeah, like the vocals, I do like the effect. I'm not so much of a stickler for mouth noises. Most things don't bother me.
Yeah,
but I did notice them, so that says something about it. Like I feel like there's definitely a lot of people who would listen to this song and be like, nope, not happening.
it me. I'm that person.
But I do. This was the song that whenever you were talking about, shit, I don't know, the song earlier where you were talking about it sounded like church bells. Well, Spaceman. Like why couldn't I think of that name? But Spaceman, where it sounded like at the end, it sounded like church bells very far away. This song, I hear it and it sounds really far away. Like if I'm on the street and there's like a concert being played in like a venue across like a few streets down or something. Like that's what it reminds me of.
Fuck yeah. I don't necessarily agree. But I mean, I didn't have any sort of like, I think I was too focused on mouth noise to have it kind of getting me anywhere. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like cold and dark. I felt like there wasn't a whole lot of energy or movement happening within the song. So
yeah, it's definitely not lyrically. It's, I don't know. This one was super vague. Like I was just reading it, and I can kind of like pick stuff up. I couldn't really get anything that could tie it to the rest of the album, which I mean could be by design, but given the way the rest of this album's been, I feel like there's got to be something in there that ties it. I'm just not seeing it.
So the way I rationalized it, and I guess kind of coming off of my interpretation of the last track, it seemed like the singer was acknowledging that the relationship he's in, like a romantic relationship, is rationally going to fall apart, and he knows that. But he's wanting to hide it under the physicality of lust and sex, where they're just like fucking to distract themselves from the inevitable end. Because he says, "Heather on your hips, I touch you there when there is no other way to get around our mind's obstacles. I see them as the errors of our ways." So it's kind of like it's implying some sort of distraction, that he's touching them to distract from whatever else happening. And maybe that in itself could be more of like a drug reference, where when he's saying "I touch you there," maybe he's saying like he injects himself in a certain location or whatever to cloud his mind and forget about the bad parts of being a drug addict.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I don't know why I wasn't reading it like that. Whenever you read it like that, it made a lot of sense.
It's
What
because I'm a
I
genius.
Exactly. You are a genius reading from genius. And now I'm going to be a genius reading from genius.
Do it.
Two lines that I really liked were the ending to that little verse.
Yes.
The don't say a word, I'd like to remember you as a reflection. Don't say a word, I'd like to feel a bit of your destruction. It was just something for me who is extremely nostalgia driven. Like
Right.
I like so much to the point where like I feel like it's not good for me, but
Yeah.
it just happens. That's just how I think, I guess.
It is what it is.
Yeah, like I'll just get stuck in these holes of like remembering stuff where I mean the more you do that, the more either stuff something becomes bad or something becomes like a fond good memory, even though
Mm-hmm.
it's probably not either of those. It's probably just whatever. But like the don't say a word, I'd like to remember you as a reflection is just like it just hit really hard because it's talking about I don't know, wanting the memory to stay the same. You don't even want to meet whoever it was, or you don't want to be a part of whatever it is now because
Yeah.
you know enough to know that memory is just a memory. It's not reality. Like if you were to try to recreate that, you can't. And if you meet the person, it's just going to ruin the memory. Or if you see whatever, it's just going to ruin the memory that you have, the probably good at this point memory that you have. And
Right.
it's just, you want to keep it as a memory, but your mind is subconsciously kind of telling you different because you're like, I'd also like my memory is telling me, oh, this is gonna be great, this is gonna be awesome, like that was such a great time. But recreate that, but you know that it's not.
Yeah. I kind of wonder if those lines are also more of like a reference to a drug use kind of thing, where he's saying he'd like to remember maybe his first high, or he would like to remember who he was maybe at a certain point in time,
Yeah,
maybe before this, without all of the chaos of it. But he's also still like, he says, don't say a word, I'd like to feel a little bit of your destruction. So he's still like giving in. He still knows he's giving in, but he's like, I don't know, maybe he's trying to, maybe he's making himself or trying to make himself think it's okay. Like, no, I remember who I am as the person that I was, kind of a thing. So like
yeah,
all of the shit that I've gotten myself into, it doesn't matter. I'm totally fine because I was fine, a year ago when I
yeah.
got into all of this stuff, and that's what I remember of myself.
But that's not who you are anymore.
Yeah, now he's just some fucking guy that sits around and peels oranges.
Yeah, just some orange peeler,
Track number 9, Orange Peeler. So you were gonna say something about the last track not fading in properly to this one, or mixing in properly.
Yeah. So the last track, at least for me, potentially not for you, potentially not for anybody else, but for me, it sounded very like far away, very, I don't know, slow and odd, and it's got like, I don't know, it's a very down
Yeah.
feeling song. And then this one, it's almost like it starts with half a second of that, and then it turns into this like more produced, more
Hmm.
completely different sound.
Yeah.
And I really like this song. And it's just like that transition is like a little bit jarring to come out of the last song for
Yes.
me. Like it's very noticeable, and it just like irked me a little bit whenever I heard it because I was just like
I
vibing.
agree. It
Like,
makes me wonder if there was like another track that was supposed to go in between.
see, this song, I read on Genius, of course, that he wrote this song a long time ago. I guess a long time ago. I don't know, pretty long ago. He said he wrote it when he was 18, and it's not relevant anymore to how he like writes songs anymore. So I guess it wasn't
Oh yeah,
even.
I see. I think this is a bonus track. I actually didn't read this, but he says it's not super relevant to us anymore, which is why we cut it off the newly released self-titled album, which is this album.
What the fuck?
So I wonder if this was just a bonus track, which makes total sense.
Yeah. Okay. Scratch everything that I just said. I'm sorry for speaking ill. This is some sort of bonus track. We
Interesting.
we don't normally do bonus tracks. I didn't know this
No.
was a bonus track.
Yeah, neither of us did. But it makes perfect sense. And with that being said, I
Yeah.
think that track 8 is a pretty good ending
Yeah.
because like we said, it feels like it's building something and it just cuts off, which to some people might seem like a bad ending to an album, but I feel like that's kind of it leaves a question
Yeah.
in the air, like what was about to come, and like is that the end? Was maybe his drug use taken too far, and that was him overdosing or dying
Yeah.
or something? Like there's a lot of mystery in that, I think. But
Yeah.
Orange Peeler, still a good song in my opinion. I do feel like it feels out of place in the context of the album, and especially when placed after the previous song, which makes total sense now.
Yeah.
Still got some beachy vibes, but this one's much more like upbeat and kind of poppy. It's got some floaty synths. It's got a simple, punchy beat. The bass line kind of keeps a groove going. The song almost falls apart about a minute and a half in, and
Yeah.
it kind of pulls itself back together. There's some rocky guitars that come in after the chorus to kind of bring back the mood of the rest of the album, I guess. And then it's got a solo that's pretty cool. And then I just kind of like went off the rails, like saying, I don't know if this album is, or if the song is actually out of place on this album, or if the rest of the album took me on such a journey that I've forgotten what the sound of the album is, kind of a thing. Because it's, I don't know, it's very proggy. There's a lot of change
Yeah.
quickly happening in the song, and it just like I wasn't sure if I just lost my mind at that point, and if the song actually did sound like the rest of the album or if it didn't. But I'm glad to feel validated that it just didn't.
Yeah, that is I even read the thing that I was literally reading it and then you were like I don't know, I just saw it like cut it off the newly released self-titled album and I was like, "Ah, that's some other album"
Yeah,
until you pointed out the very obvious fact that we're listening to the self-titled album.
yeah,
But yeah, I like the song definitely, especially as a standalone track. I really like the
yes,
last 3 minutes. Like, I mean, I like the beginning song. All the lyrics are done within the first half of the song. The song's like 6.5 minutes long.
yeah,
So the last 3 minutes are kind of just like this super reverby. It's got like it's like 80s reverb where it sounds like that new wave type
yeah,
guitar. And not like the whole song sounds like that, but it's just the guitar has like that sort of effect and it kind of just builds and builds as the end of the song kind of goes on in that style
yeah.
where I just like the ending instrumental a lot to
I
it.
agree. It's pretty cool. Lyrically, this one, I ca- I don't know what you got from this song, but for me, it seemed like he felt his lover was only pretending to give a shit about him, but really just using him to feel good about themselves. Where he holds on to everything they say very intimately and dearly, and they only pretend to hold on to what he has to say, which is taken from the chorus, where he says, "I hold on to your words like candlelight, you hold on to mine like a pantomime," where they're just pretending to give a shit what he has to say. He also mentions his wisdom teeth being planted and growing into orange trees, which kind of made me think it's more of like a metaphor for him exhausting himself, taking a piece of himself and growing this fruit, the fruit of his labor, kind of a thing. And then he's calling this other person the orange peeler
Yeah.
because they're just eating his fruit. He's exhausting himself growing these fruits, and they're just taking them and eating them, and not really like giving half a shit about him as a person.
Yeah. And he's the next line is the fruit was rotten, but the dirt was expensive. That just is talking I'm at least to me about he's growing this orange tree and he's taking such care that it's planted the right way, but then which I mean I guess he's talking about the relationship. He's putting all this effort into cultivating and growing it, which this is something that he spoke to that we didn't really talk about on the first track. uh he's got a lyric about uh
Wanting to have
growing.
a kid.
it's like it's like wanting to put work into a relationship like a garden, but then the
Yeah,
gardener forgets about it.
that's right.
And that kind of it brought me back full circle
I
to
like that.
this where it's like the fruit was rotten but the dirt was expensive. Like he put all this time and effort into growing something and then it forgot about it or the other person wasn't putting in the effort and
It
what
was spoiled.
yeah what all that hard work was wasted.
Interesting. I like that. I didn't pick up on that, but I'm glad you drew the attention back to that because that makes total sense. And in some weird way, that kind of ties it into the album, even
Yeah,
though it was kind of a bonus track or an unrelated track.
that's nuts. That's crazy,
It's kind of
man.
cool. Good on maybe he knew, maybe he had the idea for the album, or I mean, I guess if it's just about personal experience, right? That experience didn't change. from when he wrote the song necessarily to when he released his album. So maybe there were similar themes in his songwriting in general, and that was one of them. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like that itself earns Orange Peeler a slot on the album.
Yeah. Yeah, there we go. Orange Peeler, you're all right, man.
You're all right, man. Overall, though, I really dug this album. I think it came at a good time for me. And it's just like it's such a mood, it's such a vibe. I really just enjoy zoning out and listening to this album because I don't know, it's not really cathartic necessarily, but it just feels good to listen to.
Yeah. Taking a little trip can be good sometimes.
Yeah. We're gonna take a trip next week. That's for damn sure.
Oh shit! What are we listening to next week?
So next week, I'm gonna have to. I guess I don't have to spell it out, but we're gonna be doing an album called "Bearies Alive" by the artist Berried Alive. Berried is a pun, as in like a fruit berry kind of thing, like a strawberry. It's Berried Alive. And then the album is Bearies Alive, but not. It's also a pun, but not in the fruit sense or the food sense, but like a teddy bear. It's berry, which is nonsense. We'll put it out somewhere that you can read it or something. Lots of puns. The guy loves puns. I love puns.
Puns are great.
This album's gonna be a fucking ride, and I'm excited to see what Joey has to say about it next week.
I can't wait to listen to it. You see, Jeremy's been talking about this like outside of the podcast.
I've been trying not to build it up.
Yeah,
like I've tried not, but it's been on our radar for a few weeks now.
And whenever you just throw an album out there called "Berried Alive" that has a pun about berries, and then the title is "Bearies Alive," that's a different pun about the like.
Yeah,
it's
there's
just,
a lot of puns.
Yeah,
on track titles and stuff. But we'll talk about that next week. I'm excited to see what Joey has to say. I'm excited to see what you guys have to say. If you listen to this album, tweet me personally if you want, or tweet the page, leave comments, all that good social media bullshit that people like to throw in at the end. Click the bell, subscribe, and like the playlist. And
smash that like button. We should probably do this at the beginning so they actually hear it instead of just click off and be like,
that's true. Nobody is listening at this point in our podcast.
Nobody was listening halfway through either.
Yeah, people click off in the first 5 minutes. Don't worry, we see the analytics. We know when you guys are clicking off. And it's disheartening. It's not. I don't look at it too much.
I look at it sometimes. Then I'm just like, instead of being like people aren't listening, I'm like, Jeremy's not listening.
How dare he not listen to the conversation that he was a part of? But yeah, next week, Bearies Alive by Berried Alive. It's going to be a fucking wild ride. I'm excited. Yeah. So I hope that you guys stay on our feedback loop.